Welcome to Mr. Podcast with Claude.
And Justin.
We're back with our Watchmen series TV show talking thing.
Very well
With
named.
patent pending trademark title. Talking about the second episode of HBO's Watchmen, titled "Martial Feats of Comanche Horsemanship," which I'm sure means something.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
there
referenced in the episode,
There
at
was
least
a
the.
painting, right? It's the
Yeah.
painting, but like, what does it mean
What
though?
does it mean, though? But what does it mean?
But what does it mean? Besides
Yeah.
just being a reference, what does that painting mean? I
What
mean,
does the painting mean? Yeah, no, I have no idea. I have no idea. Feels very rabbit hole-ish. Feels very like
uh-huh.
Lost. You know,
Yes.
they love doing that book title for an episode title, like
Mm-hmm.
kind of thing. Feels like that, where like I feel like it doesn't matter that much, but then again, yeah.
It's the key to everything.
Then again, exactly, it's the key to everything.
Well, if you don't know what this means, how can you watch The Watchmen? Um, Yeah, well, as we're recording this podcast, episode 3's already aired, so we're gonna. I guess we're gonna try not. Should we? Are we gonna try not to spoil episode 3? What are we doing here?
Oh God, I didn't think about
Is
the
that possible?
intricacies. Oh no, this is challenging. Oh no, let's not. Okay, let's
You're
not do
either
this.
being completely genuine or you're completely faking your franticness here. There's no way to tell.
No, I like it's a little of both, strangely. Like I'm not sure what to do, and yet I feel it doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, I think
Um
we spoil
because
it.
realistically, I think anyone listening to this by the time it comes
Yeah.
out will have seen episode
How about
3.
that's the disclaimer? Don't listen to this podcast until you've seen episode 3, and now we're
Yeah,
good.
there you go. I think
Now
that's
we've
fair.
shifted we've shifted the burden to the listener.
Exactly, and I think that's where the burden should be.
Yeah, they've
I
always
was
been burdened listening to us.
I would say if you know, like I think when we talk about this, I don't think we're gonna be like getting into episode 3 that much because I feel like episode 3 in a way is separate from what's going on here. At least a lot of it is, and
Hmm.
eventually like they'll catch up, but I feel like episode 3 didn't really progress the main plot that much. It's just kind of introduced a new character and
Yeah,
kind of
the
expanded a
B
bit.
story.
Yeah, exactly. It kind of spread out like what the focal point was
Hmm.
for the main plot, and obviously the Jeremy Irons stuff like that is developing. There was a big reveal there, so I guess that's like probably the biggest like spoilery thing that we could talk about from episode 3.
Yeah,
Um, but as far as I could tell, everyone on Twitter already knew that anyway, so I don't know if it's even that big of a deal.
yeah. I think it was a weird. Okay, correct me if I'm wrong. I thought when we did our podcast on the first episode, I thought
Hmm.
we talked about the fact that we both independently saw online, written in entertainment articles, that Jeremy Irons was only going to be in that first episode. Did I make that up?
What? No, I don't remember that at all.
Okay, then I made that up.
I
Um,
I could have forgotten, but I definitely don't remember it.
I swear I read like everyone was talking about the Jeremy Irons scene and in the first episode, and I thought I read, oh, he's only in this one episode, and I thought I talked with it on the podcast, and you verified that you saw that too, that
Wow.
like he wasn't going to be in anything else. So in episode 2, when he's back, I was like, okay, I'm really confused because I
Hmm.
thought like that was the end. It was some stunt casting thing. Now maybe I like I got like the Don Johnson thing confused. Maybe.
Ah, yeah, yeah. That's closer. Though he was
Yeah.
technically in episode 2 that we're about to
Wow.
watch.
I know. Okay. Well, maybe I made that up. I like to do that sometimes
I
to.
think he might have, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, there's no way to tell. It's not like we recorded that conversation or anything.
We'll just never know.
We'll never
Yeah, but we'd
know.
have to listen to the whole thing, like.
Yeah. Nobody wants to do
Exactly. Who listens to this?
that. No one we know. Um. Yeah, there's a can we just talk about how good this show is, like in general?
Sure.
Like I'm just so thoroughly
Do
enjoying
let's.
it, and and I'm really enjoying a particular quality where I don't know what's happening. There's a lot of mysteries, and the
Yeah.
show is keeping me comfortable in this particular, unknowingness that it's doing to me, using my eloquent words here. And you know what I mean? Like I'm not upset that I don't have all the answers,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not anxious in an uncomfortable way to like know everything. Like I feel like they're giving me my medicine on the right schedule, and
Mm-hmm.
I trust that it's the right prescription, to continue the metaphor.
Right.
And the prognosis is good,
Right.
and the prescription that they're writing for me to fill at Walgreens will be covered by my insurance. Now, whether or not there's a copay, we'll find. Okay, I'm done. And but we need Medicare for all for the season finale. Um, but you get my point, so I'll let you
Yeah.
talk now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think I agree. I would say I would say that the show, especially episode 2, I would actually say episode 2 even more so than the other episodes, though episode 3 has some of this too. Episode 2 really started pushing my Lindelof buttons.
Oh, of course. Well, I'm glad you mentioned that because there's a classic Lindelof shuffle
Yes.
that they literally display in an entire scene. The scene is the whole shuffle, and I'm
Yes.
so happy. I mean, we knew he was going to do this because it's his signature writing technique,
Exactly.
but it was cool to get it so quickly, and it was cool to get it about a very pivotal question. Which is
Yeah.
basically. How does the death of the Don Johnson character relate to the Louis Gossett Jr. character?
Yes.
And I love that they completely he like one day he will change what the shuffle is, but
Mhm.
no time soon.
Yeah, it's definitely yeah. But that shit really hooks me in a way that
Hmm.
I can't. It's like
Yep.
no matter how many times I get to the end and I'm like, ah, I'm
Hmm.
disappointed. I get
Hmm.
pulled in every time because
Hmm.
there is something so compelling about that way of writing things where
Yeah.
it's like LOL, maybe I have superpowers. Maybe I'm
Hmm.
Dr. Manhattan in disguise. Maybe
Well, yeah, that there's a flippancy to how he displayed that with
yes, which reminded me of the leftovers and some stuff they
yeah,
did on Lost.
yeah, with like, well, maybe it's the most wildly fantastical thing you can think of,
Mm-hmm.
or something really normal
Mm-hmm.
and dumb.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's part of the Lindelof shuffle, right? Is not only so for people who aren't familiar with our conversation and deconstruction of like Lindelof's writing style, is one of the techniques we saw very prevalent on Lost, but also very heavily used on the leftovers. Is what we call a Lindelof shuffle, which is basically the show presents a mystery or a question or an event that's usually larger than life. It could be mundane, it could be sort of anything, but generally it's something that's mysterious, and that's the first part, presenting a question, what is this thing, right? The second part is the show does you a great favor slash disservice and tells you that there's basically a binary choice. It says, well, it's either A or B. That we'll go ahead and tell you that the answer to this mystery is either A or B. Now, the third part of the shuffle is really, it's basically like the prestige, right? It's really akin to a magic trick, where it's the final reveal of the magician, aka the writer, where they reveal what the answer is, and oftentimes in a Lindelof shuffle, it's actually option C, which you didn't know was on the table
Right.
because the show told you it was only A or B as options. Now, the extra fourth part, which is fun, is where option C could be uh, both A and B,
Right.
neither A or B. It was A and now it is B, or it's B and it used to be A. So you get this extra part where it's like it's
Yeah.
not just cut and dry, like it's always option three, right?
Right.
So
Yeah.
did I
It could
describe it?
actually be the first two things in
So
some combination.
did I describe it how you think about it?
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty
Yeah.
much.
So, a classic example here with the Louis Gossett Jr. character is the question, the mysterious question, right? The first part of the shuffle is, how did Don Johnson get hung in the tree, right?
Yeah.
Or did Louis Gossett Jr. have anything to do with hanging him in the tree, right?
Yeah.
So they set up that question in the pilot.
And he says it was me.
Well, there you go. And he
Straight
said so
up.
first when Regina King sees him for the first time outside of her bakery shop, he says, "Hey, you think I can lift 200 pounds?" That seems like, why did he say that? Nobody knows. You get to the end of the episode.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, now we've incepted this idea in our brain that he premeditated this murder,
That's why
perhaps,
I
right?
thought that. Yeah.
That's why you thought that. Oops. And
It worked. It worked
I
on
saw the
me.
I saw the magician put the rabbit in the hat. I mean, okay, so then in the second episode, and that plays out literally this whole entire scene, he basically presents the second part of the shuffle, which is presenting the binary choice. Either A, he did it through some normal means, right? He's just a strong guy, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Or B, he's Dr. Manhattan.
Right.
Like there's some supernatural explanation for what's happening here. And so generally anytime there's a shuffle, I always want to look for option C.
Yeah.
Uh
So I
and
now
to me,
believe that it's option C.
option C being he's got some other people helping him. There's someone
Collaborators.
else
Yep.
collaborating. Yeah,
Yep. He
exactly.
wasn't acting alone, and so he doesn't need to do everything himself.
Exactly. But the cool thing is that they keep you guessing, right? So he got out of those handcuffs by himself,
Yep.
presumably, right?
Yep.
Something interesting. Maybe he's
Yep.
Dr. Manhattan. How did he get out of handcuffs, right?
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
what's cool is they present these options so you can like hang your idea. You go, well, I'm on camp B that he's Dr. Manhattan. So when he gets out of the handcuffs, that's how he got out because he's supernatural, whatever. And the other thing that's cool about that scene is they throw some red herrings in there, which I want to talk about, which relates to some crackpot theories about what's going on with Doctor Manhattan on Mars and what's going on with the Jeremy Irons character,
Mm.
particularly the line where Regina King says, "Doctor Manhattan can't look like us."
Mm-hmm.
Which I think might be the biggest red herring I can think of so far in the show, because
Yeah.
I think that might not be true.
Mm-hmm.
But I
Mm-hmm.
love that they said that. But anyway, so that's a clear example of Lindelof Shuffle. We get it in episode 2, and we don't really get an answer yet, but we do know by the end of episode 2 that he's got some co-conspirators
Yeah.
clearly.
Definitely. Yeah. That magnet didn't just come from nowhere.
And what a great ending to an episode. And that's the thing again I love about this show is this the world is so interesting that almost anything can happen. So when your brain is following the plot and she gets Louis Gossett Jr., she's gonna put him in the car, she's gonna take him in or whatever, and then the car flies away by a giant magnet in the sky, and you go, I love this show.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
they get to write something like that and they'll make it make sense,
Yeah.
and that's cool because most shows you can't do that on.
Right. Yeah. 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 And yet in this show, it's not like, yeah, it's not out of place.
Yeah,
Like,
and it's not the most fantastical thing that can happen at
no,
all.
no. If anything, it's like a straightforward
Yep.
explanation for what happened, which I think is the Lindelof default. I feel
Mhm.
like most of the time when it comes to giving if he's going to give an answer, which he doesn't
Mhm.
always give an answer, but if he does,
Mhm.
most of the time it is a simple, basic
Yeah.
explanation.
And yeah, and because the point I think he tries to reiterate that he likes to talk about is, and the leftovers, on a very fundamental level was all about that question, right? Like just because something supernatural happened that you can prove happened, or something seemingly supernatural has occurred, how does that change your thinking, right?
Yeah,
How does that
yeah,
make me think about what is possible now?
right.
And I think that's what's interesting is like you're saying, like a lot of times he's like, oh no, did the bagel disappear and
Yep.
did it get raptured? No, it just got stuck. But the fact
Exactly.
that you went down that rabbit hole is the point he's trying to make,
Yeah, Yeah, the
about
whole
how the
mystery
human
of
mind
season 2 is
works.
along those lines.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff with the chicken and the apocalyptic storm or
Yeah,
whatever, like
yeah. We're talking about the
all that.
leftovers here, by the way.
Hotel
Spoiler
World.
alert.
Yes, not to spoil the whole show, but just to say there's a lot of big plot points that
Mm-hmm.
are built up with an extraordinary amount of mystery and seemingly like supernatural implications,
Mm-hmm.
which, the departure, you know, I mean, at the end, like it's not clear what the explanation for the departure is, you
Mm-hmm.
know. Uh so like that is a crazy thing. Maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
science, maybe it's not, you don't know what to think.
Sure.
But most of what happens in the show is like, has a concrete, like basic kind of explanation of like people doing stuff or stuff
Mm-hmm.
going on in people's minds, you
Yep.
know, and like that's it. And to me, like the big tell, and I don't want to like pre-commentary before we commentary, but another pattern that I've noticed from the leftovers and from Lost, is whenever characters get jokey about stuff, when
Mm-hmm.
they're like, LOL, maybe it's this thing,
Mm-hmm.
that's usually a sign to me that that's not the explanation.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like that's usually a way of signaling if he's treating it like a joke, don't
Mm-hmm.
take it seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I don't think he's Dr. Manhattan, for example.
Yeah.
Like I don't believe that's the explanation because he tosses it off so flippantly and he doesn't even seem like he's serious.
Yeah, but what's interesting about that is I think you're right about that, but I think there's two that's going on in that line. But the second thing is the red herring stuff that I think ties into a bigger mystery about what's happening with Doctor Manhattan. So, like I said,
True.
with like Regina King saying he can't look like us. I think that's also part of that thing too,
Right.
where I think you're right. Like he's making it off as a joke, but they're also setting up this idea of can Doctor Manhattan look like regular people?
Right.
And I just don't think that's a coincidence. And we can talk about like some of that. I mean, it's really more, I think, well, no, it's kind of relevant here in this episode. I was thinking more for episode 3, but I think it's relevant here to talk about what's happening with Dr. Manhattan. How is that relating to the Jeremy Irons character? I did
Hmm.
read a crackpot theory online that, it's sort of like a spoiler if it turns out to be true. It's not really a spoiler unless it's true,
Right.
but I think it's worth talking about because I think it's a really interesting idea and it gives maybe some context to what Jeremy Irons is doing,
Hmm.
which I find pretty interesting. Um, so yeah. Anyway, overall, like I've really enjoyed these 3 episodes. It's really nice to have a new show that like scratches that itch.
Oh yeah, yeah. TV has been
Where
lacking in that for a while
yeah,
now.
so many shows are just so boringly straightforward.
Yeah.
And even if the drama's good or the acting's good or whatever, they just don't have that X factor of like something really interesting and thought provoking is happening. And the cool thing about Watchmen is it's also with the racial political elements, it's also very timely.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
something that I think is really interesting too. Is
Yeah,
that
they're really heavily leaning into that.
we're
That's not
getting
like
yeah
a small part of the show.
we're seeing like a stark rise in hate crimes and white nationalist violence, and we're like a lot of things in our real world are happening that are really connected to what's happening on the show, and I think that's really interesting. And this show 10 years ago would have felt really different.
Yeah. Oh
And
yeah,
so it's
definitely.
coming out at the right time, I think. And I'm curious how they're going to really continue that thread and what they're going to really say about it. Um, you know, but otherwise, yeah, I'm down for the ride. And it's only 9 episodes, which is a weird number
Oh,
for season
okay.
one.
Yeah.
I felt like, and I almost feel like it's even more genius to me that like they know exactly what they're trying to do, and 8's not enough, and 10 is
Right.
too many,
Right.
and so it gives me more confidence that they're really going to nail this.
Yeah. Yeah. It does seem very well thought out. And I definitely think for me, um, I haven't read the comics, so I don't know, but compared to the movie, it's like way more interesting.
But yeah, I was talking to a
It's
friend
like
about this, and
not even close.
he's seen the movie and he's read the comics. And the criticism I said that I had about the Watchmen movie was the so much of the like there were good things about the movie, particularly the ending was really interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Manhattan was a great character, and Ozymandias, and the whole thing at the end where he's like, "Yeah, that thing you're trying to stop, I did that 30 minutes ago."
Yeah,
Like he was
yeah, yeah.
like,
No, that
"That's
was
just
great.
great."
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a
definitely.
lot of cool things about it. Overall, I thought it was just sort of okay, right?
Yeah.
But my chief criticism with the Watchmen movie was that there was so much focus about their past as vigilante superhero people that I thought that that was a more interesting story than the present day story that the movie was telling. And I just felt like, well, I want to see that story. I want to see the story when you guys were younger and you were the force
Right.
that this story is all about, you know. And I think here with this series, I don't have that feeling at all. They're telling me that the more interesting story is what's happening right now,
Right.
not what the Watchmen used to be, you
Right.
know, which I felt like that's what the movie did to me. It made me feel like the more interesting story was ever happened before that they're not dealing with, you know.
Yeah.
So it made me feel like I wasn't getting the best of the world, but here I feel like I'm getting the most interesting story. And you know, that was actually my criticism about Leftovers, season one in particular, where I thought what they were focusing on in the world, because you know, my whole sort of ethos as a writer is whatever story you're telling and whatever world you're creating should be the most interesting story in the world, right?
Oh,
So
right, right.
on
Yeah.
Lost, what was happening on the island was the most interesting story happening in that on planet Earth, right?
Yeah.
For that world. It should be, and I think it was.
Yeah.
But I felt like in season one of Leftovers, like it just didn't feel like that was a more interesting story. And then I thought they proved me right by moving the location to Jordan
Yeah.
and telling a more interesting story.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. Change
and
the name.
yeah, so I think here in Watchmen, it's really making it clear that they're in control of the narrative. They've got a specific goal in mind that they're treating all of the delicate elements appropriately, and you know the complete opposite of the I Dash Land Netflix
Oh
show
God.
where they want to pick up
Ugh.
you know, a fraught topic and then like blow it up, you know,
Yeah.
and not like treat it delicately. And I think the Watchmen is really deliberate about what it's doing and the story it's telling. And yeah, I'm really liking it. I guess before we get into the episode, I just want to maybe talk about the crackpot theory so we don't have to like
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sure.
ruin it during the thing.
Yeah.
But basically, if you will remember, in the pilot episode, there's a news footage of Dr. Manhattan on Mars. And
Right.
if you pay close attention, it was hard for me to see. I didn't see it the first viewing, but the second viewing I saw it. The footage of Mars, you see this sort of castle being, you know, this castle-like structure built out of sand or
Mm-hmm.
Martian or soil or whatever. And then Dr. Manhattan's in the bottom right corner of the frame, and it crumbles to dust, right?
Yeah.
So it's him sort of creating and deconstructing, as we kind of know from from the movie,
Yeah.
that he likes to do on Mars. Now, one of the things somebody put together was that castle looks very similar to the castle Jeremy Irons is in, which now begs the question. Again, going back to Regina King's comment that Dr. Manhattan cannot look like people, two possible scenarios. Okay, so and obviously in episode three, spoiler alert, we get confirmation that Jeremy Irons is Adrian Veidt, aka Ozymandias,
Right.
right? Who was trying to best Doctor Manhattan in several ways, right?
Right.
So the question is Ozymandias living in a fantasy world created by Doctor Manhattan where he thinks he's in this English castle thing on the countryside, but he's really on Mars? Or option two is Ozymandias really Dr. Manhattan, living out this world, and we as an audience think it's real, but he's actually really on Mars, having created this world, where he's pretending to be Ozymandias
Oh
or
no.
whatever. And one of the things I'll throw in there for this theory is that I believe at the end of the comic and in the movie, you know, as we know, Dr. Manhattan got really bored with life on Earth and humans and all that stuff. So he goes to Mars and he's sort of over it all, right? But one of the last things he tells, I believe, Ozymandias is he has some interest in creating human life. And so we do see the Ozymandias character dealing with clones and all this stuff.
Right.
So is it his attempt to create human life? You know, that whole thing. So anyway, that's sort of the context of the crackpot theory is what is the connection between Dr. Manhattan creating this sort of castle on Mars and Ozymandias being in this castle environment, creating these clones and trying to do this theatrical play, which I think is going to come. You know, I think that's the end game for this season is what's up with Doctor Manhattan. You know, we get some of that in episode 3 with the Silk Spectre character
Right.
coming into play.
Right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
And you know, and part the other sort of question is is Doctor Manhattan on Mars sort of trying to create life, and then Ozymandias, you know, in a sort of competitive way, also trying to create life. You know what I mean? Are they sort of competing against each other? Is one the other person? Is one Doctor Manhattan living out a fantasy? You know, so some of those questions I think are up in the air.
Right. Right. Um yeah, so okay, like a couple things. So I'm definitely inclined to think that it's really Ozymandias in some form. Um though maybe it's too soon to assume that, but I do feel like it works at least so far. But the connection to Dr. Manhattan is vague, and certainly it's going to be referenced in this episode. He has
Mm-hmm.
this whole like play put on that's like
Mm-hmm. The
the Dr.
Watchmaker's son.
Manhattan, like, yeah, the Watchmaker's son, exactly the thing
Yeah.
they set up in the first episode. That's like
Mm-hmm.
the origin story, and that's when we find out about the cloning.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think it is obviously a huge question because there's this whole like Vite assumed dead. They had a line about it later
Yep. Yep.
too.
Yeah.
Um,
Like, is he dead? Is he assumed dead because he's off in this, you know, sequestered in this English castle, or is he presumed dead because he's on Mars,
yeah,
or is he
yeah,
presumed
yeah,
dead because
yeah.
he's dead?
Clearly, like there's something to what's going on, because
Yes.
it's so removed from the main story,
Yeah.
and yet they keep going back to it.
Yeah, so you
So
know it's gonna tie into whatever the end game of the
it has
season
to tie in.
is.
Yeah.
And the other thing that makes me think it's sort of more real and not Dr. Manhattan sort of being in control of everything is what happens in episode 3 with the warden guy or
Oh yeah,
whoever,
right.
you know, whoever tells him he can't kill the whatever he was shooting at,
The
whatever it was.
yeah, the buffalo or
The
something.
buffalo,
Yeah.
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 So that
Right.
it's weird to me for Dr. Manhattan to create someone who would limit him,
Right.
but you know maybe there's some meaning there. But anyway, I just find that fascinating. You know what I mean? Like the show is interesting enough, you know, but the idea that one person might be another, or Dr. Manhattan has created this reality that he's
Mhm.
living out Ozymandias, or he's trapped Ozymandias in some reality. You know, and maybe that's the thing. Maybe he's, you know, maybe this is like a lost thing where, oh God, now that I
Oh
say it, it
no.
sounds awful.
Oh
But
no.
you know, one's Man in Black
Don't
and
say
one's
it.
Jacob. You
No.
know, and yeah, I had to say it. And so, like, you know, Ozymandias just wants to go home.
Why won't you
And
let me
why won't
leave?
you let me leave? And so, yeah,
I'll
maybe
never let you leave.
mother said so. Um, so maybe that, you know, I wouldn't put it past some sort of relationship like that because they are the two, you know, highest forms of intellect and you know, power through intellect, and in one case Dr. Manhattan powered through power,
Right.
you know, sort of characters there.
Yeah.
So that, you know, I find that kind of interesting to think about on top of like everything else that's happening.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't really think about a Dr. Manhattan connection.
Hmm.
That is interesting.
Well, the fact that they made it so it was such a small thing, but the thing that they showed was a big connection to what's happening
Mm-hmm.
with the Jeremy Irons character, which is so far removed. You know what
Right.
else is far removed? Mars.
Good point. Good point.
Yep.
Yeah, I do agree. The Warden's weird, but that doesn't rule out a tie-in.
Hmm.
Even if he's on Earth, there could still be a tie-in.
Yeah.
Um, uh, it seemed like there was something going on with a spacesuit in episode 3.
Spacesuit.
Um, well, I don't know if it was really a spacesuit, but he
Oh,
has one of the.
he did make one. Yeah, he did make a spacesuit, and then he put gas in it or something, and then the
Yeah,
guy froze to death, and he was mad about
yeah. I
that.
don't really know like
Uh, that also makes me think he's on Mars.
what happened, but yeah, I was just gonna throw that in as like something sort of connecting to the idea of being in space,
Yeah.
or maybe he wants to go to Mars. I don't know. Um, but just yeah, that there's something to that. I think that
Yeah,
makes
there's also
sense.
this Groundhog Day quality that we've seen so far, right?
Oh
Where
yeah,
it's like his
yeah.
birthday every
The
day or
cake
something
and
with the cake.
yeah,
Yeah.
for he's a jolly good fellow.
Which makes me think again he's living in some fake reality.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and the clones obviously are weird. Like that hasn't
Hmm.
really been explained. Like why does he
Yeah.
have an endless supply of clones?
Yeah.
Like
And the fact that the clone's personality, right? They're not concerned about their own mortality.
right. Right.
Really,
Yeah.
it's an extra strange quality. All right, well, I just want to throw that out there so when we
Yeah.
watch these scenes, we can sort of think about maybe how that connects.
Yeah, yeah, that's interesting. Clearly, yeah, clearly that's going somewhere and that does tie things together. I do think yeah, I do think there's got to be something to that. Even if it's not literally the one
Hmm.
thing that you read in the article.
Yeah, I think it's gonna be something, right? I think it would be shocking if those two characters don't have some connection
Yeah.
with each other.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree they should.
All right, you want to get started?
Yeah, let's do it. Hello, Justin here from Mr. Podcast. I just wanted to break in to let you know there's a slight technical difficulty here. Some buffering occurred one time during the commentary, and so the track might be a little bit out of sync. I have arranged it so that if you start when we say to start, it should end in the right place for you, but it might seem as though we are a bit off at during the first 10 minutes or so. I apologize. Thank you for your patience, and I'll see you next time.
All right, everybody, get your streaming ready if you're going to stream along with us
Pull it up on your phone
on your
or whatever you
HBO
do these
Now
days.
/ Go account, so we can stream some Watchmen episode 2.
Fire up your DVR. Who's got one
Yeah,
of those?
DVR it, digital video recorder. All right, so we're gonna basically start at the first frame of previously on Watchmen. If you're gonna sync up with us,
Yeah, it's
you probably
Looking
have a
Glass
yeah,
with
you probably have a
like
nice
Walking on the Moon in the background.
HBO likes to throw in a trailer in the beginning or something
Yeah,
random.
yeah. So
So,
we're just gonna blow past that, start there, and hopefully you'll be synced up with us.
yep.
All right,
All right, you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Intense music plays. So I have to say, first of all, this is the first time I'm watching HBO with the captions on, and the captions are way too big.
They are really big.
They're huge.
Fucking panda.
Yeah, I mean, you're the guy in a dirty panda costume. Maybe you made the mistake. TikTok. This whole Watchmen affair works so well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me think he's really Ozymandias, and he's trying to take down Dr. Manhattan.
Yeah. Yeah, I could totally see that. Look what I did.
Mm-hmm. All right, HBO.
Here we go, HBO. Time to start clacking.
Yeah. So they
Nice.
haven't had a classic title sequence. We talked about that
No, it
last time.
seems
We
like
haven't
they're
really.
not going to do that
Yeah.
because it's been 3 episodes and they haven't done it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I forgot about this.
Robert Mueller. Is this Robert Mueller's mother? I love this opening. You know, they keep doing this thing where they
This is
talk
so
about the
weird.
history, and I thought, and it it connects to the to the pilot scene,
Yep.
because I was wondering if we would see what was written, what that paper, the paper the
Yeah.
little boy had to
Like,
watch over
yeah.
the boy. I thought it was a deed to a house for some reason. I thought it was like something valuable,
Oh,
but it was cool for them to actually explain what that is.
yeah. Yeah. And it was not what I expected.
Yeah, and again, this whole idea of you know, soliciting black soldiers, and it's such an interesting thing too to be like, "Hey, black soldiers, you're not happy in America. Come to Germany where we like diversity." It's like, huh?
Yeah, it's weird. It's
Yeah.
weird. Like, I'm not even sure what we're supposed to think about that. Are they just doing it to try to create
Hmm.
chaos and
That's what I think. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Like yeah, try to make
divide and
disruption within the
conquer
ranks. Yeah.
kind of thing?
But this is what I love. I love this moment here. As he's like, maybe this is interesting. Oh, the white man spit on me. Okay. Maybe that's not it. Yeah. And I don't know enough about history to know if this is a flat out lie,
Right. Yeah, I don't either.
or if like maybe there's some time period here in which that was maybe kind of true
Right, right. And then
before.
it came crashing down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it could be. I don't know.
And the idea that he kept it after the war is super interesting.
Yeah,
And I think that's thematic, this whole idea of switching sides or something.
definitely. You will find friends who will help you along. That seems like that's setting up the
Yeah.
collaborators.
Yeah.
I didn't think that the first time. That's what I love the reveal of
Yeah.
that flashlight is just like a
It's
flashlight.
great because when they reveal it, it's like, well, we have to do this because we did it before. And it's not
Right.
interesting this time, but no flashlight is that bright.
I know. It's like crazy bright. Holy shit.
Hmm. Yeah, it's one of those things where he only did it because that's how they set up the scene before.
Yeah,
There's no real reason to do that.
exactly.
Okay, so now
Yeah.
we talked about the
There's this
themes, the
music
soundtrack.
again.
Yeah, I was gonna say we're in '70s horror land.
I do really like this, but I think it's a weird fit.
I want to figure out why they use this cue. Like, when do they use it and why?
Yeah. Yeah, the way they put the titles in is weird too.
Yeah,
They seem to do this in every episode.
yeah. Well, that car's gonna fly away later. You don't think that
Spoiler
when you
alert.
first watch it,
No,
but
you don't. You really
yeah,
shouldn't. It is interesting that she doesn't go straight to like the police station.
yeah.
You
Well,
know, I
she's
was
a
kind of
vigilante
surprised
after
that she
all.
brings him here for like a sort of private
'Cause she's a great
interrogation.
character. I also wanted her to wash that cup out.
I know,
That's
that's gross.
it's hot coffee. It'll kill whatever, but come on. It had pencils
Yeah.
and pens in there.
It's
It's
gonna have like an
dirty.
inky side
Yeah.
taste.
Nobody needs that. Regina King, ladies and gentlemen.
Put that in your Emmy reel.
Mm-hmm. Oh, she's gonna win. And then Trent Reznor shows up.
Yeah.
So this is like the badass music. I understand this cue.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I love that. I love being able to see her spray it on to see exactly how it works.
Yeah.
Church is in session. Time to whoop some mass.
Gotta have the puns.
Yeah. That's fake drinking.
Yeah, you're right. It should
It
be
was like boiling hot coffee.
too hot for that.
Yeah. Okay, Lindelof shuffle right here.
Yeah. I love that she doesn't believe it. She's
No.
immediately like, no, you're wrong.
A lesser show would have had her think he did it.
Yeah, I know. That seems like the obvious thing to think.
Yeah.
But then he says this, and it's like,
Yeah.
okay, now I don't believe you either.
See, he keeps digging. It's like, I did it. Oh, now I'm like Dr. Manhattan. I love that line though, because I'm like, I didn't know that was a thing.
I didn't either.
And there's that thing about making copies, which is like the clones.
Yeah. Oh, good point.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
And then he drops it very quickly.
Yeah. But he's still not saying he didn't do it by himself.
Yeah, sorry, I'm buffering. All right, buffer over. I don't believe that. Memory pills. Hooded skeletons. I feel like that's Damon Lindelof talking.
Definitely.
I'm your granddaughter.
Spoiler alert.
SOS. I know my Morse code.
Was it really SOS?
Uh-huh. That's the only Morse code I know.
Wow.
Pretty sure. 99% sure. Actually, maybe it's da 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 da. I think it's 3, actually. Not 2 in the middle.
Well done.
I thought she was gonna put the bag over his head. And this is what's great about her character. She's kind of always one step ahead. And, she didn't just give him coffee to be nice.
Right,
She knew she was
right.
getting his DNA.
It was that old gag. That was in Twin Peaks too.
Uh huh. It's dimensional shit. I love that. False flag. Well, what's great about that is because the whole Ozymandias thing was also a false flag. Like, he did it on purpose,
Right,
So they're kind of right.
right. I mean, not a false flag in the sense the government did it, but
Sure. Yeah. 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 But he did it for surreptitious reasons,
right,
like to
right.
elicit a response.
Yeah.
Who are they talking about?
I those magazines, I don't know.
He said, "Does she really read all this?"
Mhm.
And like, who's she?
I have no idea. Are we
Yeah,
supposed to
I forgot
know?
about that scene. Forgot about that, like random young girl.
Yeah, yeah. Is that a thing? I
They
forgot
don't
about it
come
too.
back to it.
I don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So this is where I was starting to get these like Dexter vibes where I guess like part of the problem is that, Louis Gossett Jr. said there's a vast conspiracy.
Mm-hmm.
And if you think that might possibly be true, it is risky to just like, you know, come out with the truth about what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
But it did make me uncomfortable because it means like no one else at this point knows
Mm-hmm.
like what she actually found there.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
And so like
Episode.
here with Looking Glass, like I started, and maybe it was in the next episode, but I started to get this like Dokes vibe.
What do you
It's
mean?
like, is he suspicious? I don't even
Oh,
know.
yeah. No, I don't think anyone's suspicious. I don't think anybody knows. I feel like none of these characters are part of the conspiracy.
Well, I think the Silk Spectre in episode 3 is suspicious.
Yes.
That's the closest we've
Well,
gotten to that.
I'm sure she's going to help uncover the thing.
Yeah. Oh, I was surprised with like how injured he was.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So they're like ruling out the idea that like he was killed and then just like they wrapped a rope around him and pulled
Yeah.
him up.
Yeah. I love that. You know what that word means? Doing blow. Yeah, I see what you're saying. It seems like he's suspicious. But
Yeah.
honestly, I didn't really think that.
Like I was partially projecting because I realized she wasn't telling them the
Yeah,
truth.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
like I started getting nervous about what they're thinking.
Yeah. I love this. Another detail about the world being just silent
Yeah.
off and weird and crazy. This whole thing with the cops dressed like this and being, and then also she's I guess she's not technically a vigilante. She's just a cop,
Right.
but it's such a weird thing
It's a way to like
considering.
have the thing without actually doing the thing.
Well, but what's interesting is we see in episode 3 that vigilanteism is actually outlawed.
Right.
So there's a fine line between people in costumes taking the law into their own hands.
Mm-hmm. Which is something they say in episode 3.
Uh huh. Whoever directs this episode really likes these weird shots where there's like something in the foreground that's like out of focus. And like they do it a lot, and I'm like, I don't think it's great. Like you see the left screen, like you see this like lens flare thing that's
Oh yeah,
blurry, and
yeah.
the coffee cup thing in the Louis Gossett Jr. scene,
Do they
or
do
the
this when it's
medicine.
not a flashback?
Well, they did it in the interrogation scene with his medicine bottle that
Right,
was in
right,
the
right, right. Okay.
foreground, and it's like right here you see this thing. It's like I don't know why they're obsessed with that. I didn't notice that in the other episodes, so I don't know if there's a different director here that just likes that aesthetic. Oh, this was great. I love when she immediately turns the lights off. Like their first thing is to like get the lights cover. She's so good. So I have a conspiracy theory here about what's happening.
Okay.
So
It's
I think
valid. There might be a conspiracy.
I think it's a wide conspiracy, and if I told you, it'd blow your mind. I think the second guy who shows up is Don Johnson, and that's the reason she doesn't die tonight.
Yeah. Uh I was really suspicious
But that would mean
um
that he shot her.
because of the editing. The way they cut from this to the next thing, I was like, okay, this makes Don Johnson look really suspicious.
Okay, wait, sorry, not him. So maybe that's a third person.
Oh, not him. Okay.
Let me see what happens.
Because I thought we cut straight from
No,
this to Don Johnson. I guess we'll find out if I'm right. Okay, good.
yeah, there it is. Okay. That's what made me think that he was Don Johnson.
Yeah, 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 yeah. It made me think that he was involved. I guess I didn't actually think that that was him, although that's pretty logical.
The main reason I think it's him is because why wouldn't that other guy just shot her in the
Right,
face?
right. What actually happened at the end
Yeah.
there?
But why would he be involved with it in the first place if he wasn't willing to kill her?
Right, right.
Or maybe he sort of I don't know.
Yeah, there's something going. I mean, the Don Johnson mystery is like clearly a big part of whatever's going on,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really not clear. Is he like, was he a secret cavalry member, or
Mm-hmm.
was he pretending to do it for some other reason, or
Mm-hmm.
option C? Like,
Well,
I don't
because
know.
he helped take down that cavalry cell in the pilot.
Yeah, that's the thing. I remember I was watching because I was suspicious after episode 1, and everything he did in that first episode, except for the cocaine, which has nothing to do with
Mm-hmm.
the point, seemingly, was
Yeah.
like, it's, I mean, I couldn't really criticize it. It seemed like he was seriously trying to shut him down.
Mm-hmm.
So, of
Unless there's like a
course, like,
Splinter Cell thing, and he thinks, well, these guys are doing it wrong, and they shouldn't be doing what they're
mm-hmm,
doing, and so he's willing to stop them while still, it's the Lindelof shuffle. It's both A
right.
and B.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It could be. And of course, if he's undercover, he has to act the part.
Yeah,
So it's hard to judge, but there wasn't like a tell, there wasn't a
yeah,
moment. I mean, I guess the closest thing was like when he goes tick tock, but that's like
yeah,
pretty vague.
yeah. Yeah, I do wonder what this whole conspiracy is. Why does he have the clan robe in his closet?
Yeah.
And because it's like, how big of a deal can that? Like, what can this conspiracy really be?
Yeah.
Besides, like, there's white supremacists on the police force.
Right. I feel like there's got to be more to it than that.
Yeah,
The way it was
yeah,
sold.
yeah. And there was that thing about them getting all the batteries, so I think it
Mm-hmm.
had some plan with that.
Yeah.
And he did know about that. He knew what the batteries. He knew the idea that those are
Right.
specific batteries.
That's true. And I thought that was just exposition, but
Hmm.
yeah.
That line too makes me think he shot her.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing too. The other whoever that second shooter was, didn't go after the husband. You know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's weird. That's very weird.
hmm I love Nixon. I love the idea of Nixonville. And breathing. This also, like, it's interesting, but like it's such a bad way to get information. Like,
Hmm.
we're just gonna beat you all up, and then like
Yeah.
maybe someone will say something.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like, well, because they're racist, it's okay,
Yeah.
And that's the thing the show has to walk a fine line on, right? Is
Oh
like
yeah.
not just be like, well, being racist or prejudiced is so bad that violence against you is fine.
Anything's justified. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting that she wants to hold back.
Yeah. But I feel like it's because of Louis Gossett Jr. Like she knows this is like the wrong track.
But she doesn't know. Well, but she doesn't know that any white supremacists weren't involved, right? I mean,
She
she doesn't
doesn't
know
know what?
that white supremacists weren't involved in his death.
I guess she doesn't know that, but I think she can at least suspect that.
I want her to show up in the Matrix so bad. I want someone to ask him how he breathes in that mask.
He like wipes his brow at a certain point.
He does.
It's
He's done
like
that twice.
it's
Yeah.
like
That makes me.
porous, I
I guess it's
guess.
porous. Yeah. I just want someone to double check though. That like I thought what Faith Ford was going to ask him, unless I mean Jean. That's Faith Ford. That's her name. Jean Smart was going to ask him in episode 3, but she didn't.
Yeah, you're right. That would have been the time because she's an outsider.
Hmm.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's a real investigation. This is so weird. This totally
I
threw
love
me.
this. It was so unique and specific, and yeah.
I did not
Henry
expect
Gates.
this.
Henry Gates shows up.
Yeah. I thought she would just like take it to the
Go to
police
the police
station.
station. But that's what's cool. It's like this world is so specific that like that's actually not the thing to do.
Yeah, yeah,
Because then
yeah.
it becomes Dexter where she's got to secretly put it into evidence and like
Right,
do the whole.
exactly.
It's almost like they wrote a list of things, not scenes, not to
Not
write.
to do. Yeah, yeah.
This is so great.
This is so strange.
Yeah. And it's like not only is it him and there's this museum, but like he's like an AI thing. He's like,
Hmm.
Max Headroom,
It's like a
and
robot version, yeah, or a hologram or something.
mhm. Yeah, you can tell it's a fantasy when America's apologizing for tragedies.
Definitely.
That was a great cut. I thought this was great. This whole dynamic here
Right,
with
right.
like
This is where they explain the kids. I forgot about that.
hmm it was Calvary with a K. I didn't know that.
Yeah, I only know that from the subtitles.
I love this dynamic here of like, I want your money, but also your money's counterfeit. You don't deserve it. Like, this is great, but you're taking it. And then I love get the fuck off my porch. Stab you in the butt.
Do ghosts have butts?
Yeah, I guess so.
A ghost? Can a shark eat
I
a ghost?
don't think she's thinking
He's
logically.
already dead. It doesn't make sense.
What are the how are the sharks gonna eat a ghost?
That didn't bother me the first time.
Yeah, her plan needs some reworking.
Seriously.
Mhm.
Rewrites.
Back to the drawing board, little girl.
Oh, and he knows what's going
How does he
on.
know?
Yeah, how the fuck does he know? Did she call him off screen?
We missed a scene. I wonder why does everybody know he can't? Why do they know think they know the limitation of his powers is what I'm confused
Yeah.
about. Ghost.
spy a little.
Yeah, this piano music is weird too.
Yeah, the music is all over the
It's
place.
all over the place,
What
but
the
it's fitting
shit?
because the show's all over the place.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's true. No, I really like it, but it's just very, yeah, I don't know, very
Yeah.
distinctive mix of things.
This also reminded me of Dr. Manhattan and the whole
Yep.
building the castle on Mars thing.
Maybe Topher's Dr. Manhattan.
Oh no, Dr. Mantopher. Oh, actually, that box said something about Manhattan.
Oh, is
It's
it
like a
supposed to be like a model of Manhattan?
well, that box said something. Well,
Yeah, I missed
we'll
it.
figure it out. Yeah, that goes back to that question of why he didn't need to wear a mask.
Yeah, I
The
agree.
chief of police just has to deal with it, or what? I thought that was a good line too. This idea that he's responsible for telling his sisters.
Yeah. It does also help that, we don't have to watch this scene multiple
Mm-hmm.
times.
Any other scene, she would have been like, "No, no, no, I'll tell them. That's not a thing for you to do." But she's
Mm-hmm.
like, "Oh yeah, cool, yeah, you tell them."
Oh God.
Yeah, I love this disclaimer. It's so
It's
intense.
it's so
It's
ridiculous.
like, don't watch this show at all. And it's literally saying, don't watch. Kids should not watch this at all, even with adult supervision. And he's just sitting there watching it. I like that he's eating with his mask on still, even though he's at home. He could take it off, but he's
Mm-hmm.
not. Oh wow! Look at that foreshadowing. They're building the bomb for episode 3.
Oh yeah. Good point. Good
Wow.
point. I didn't realize that because I was so focused on the
Yeah.
trailer thing or the intro.
Wow, that's so crazy that they set that up like that. This reminds me of the beginning of Sunset Boulevard.
Yeah,
Where there's
definitely.
the narrator by the dead guy. Spoiler alert. Tomato, 2 for 33 cents. Wow.
Nice.
You don't have an ear. Oh no, it's Noose Man. He's gonna put us in a noose. That's all I can think about. He's the dark
It is a
noose. I
very
don't know.
ropey kind of
Yeah.
costume.
Yeah.
I was surprised how much time they spent on this.
Mm-hmm.
Just like clip from a TV show within the show.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if this character is a big deal. I mean, I'm assuming he is, but I don't know from the Watchmen stuff if this is like a big deal character.
Yeah.
Keep the change. Hooded Justice. Oh, okay, that's Hooded Justice. I've heard that name. Huh. Well, that's interesting. Well, now that's making me think of a crackpot theory about Don Johnson
Uh-oh.
because he had a noose around his neck and he has a hood and he's
Uh-oh.
also Justice.
Uh-oh.
So maybe that's
Uh-oh.
his secret is he used to be Hooded Justice. That's interesting. Wow, okay. Well,
Hooded
that's my new
Justice.
Hooded Justice. Yeah.
So I guess that character is in the comics?
I think so.
I don't remember that character from the movie. Maybe
Yeah.
it's like he died before
Yeah.
the main part of the story.
Yeah. Cuz that time period looked like the 40s or
Yeah,
something
you're
or
right. Yeah, it was clearly
50s.
flashback.
So maybe his dad was Hooded Justice.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, it could be. Right. There was like multi generations.
Mhm.
But I am feeling very faint. I suspect something of this senator.
Why?
For the
He's just a
record,
southern gentleman. He's
I
only
think
here
there's
to
something up.
protect and serve. Yeah, he's probably with the cavalry or something.
Yeah, I feel like there's something weird going on. Like
Yeah.
the way they break into the funeral and then they ask for him. It's just like, I don't know. It's just strange.
Yeah. Mm-mm-mm.
Oh
I
my.
hope she recovers.
Maybe she's going to spend the rest of the episode in bed convalescing.
That seems likely to me. She's gonna be convalescent full time. Yeah, but she fooled me. Cause it's like I don't know what her deal is. I didn't think she was like overwhelmed with emotion, but I thought like something else could be happening.
Me too.
And then as soon as
I thought maybe she was drugged or something. I'm like, what's
mm,
going on? I had no idea. I wasn't expecting what happens.
she had some of that inky coffee.
Exactly. You shouldn't drink ink.
No. Even though they rhyme.
They rhyme, but
Don't drink it. Yeah, I love this. I'm just gonna rest and
well, I don't know
a
how I
little
shall
bit,
ever.
and I just have to doze off. And then now I'm in now I'm in fucking Trent Reznor mode.
Yeah, the music.
Yeah,
And I got
that's
the
great.
magic x-ray glasses.
Yeah. It's great because they don't have to do anything. They just have to look cool.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Here it is. Look at that
I
X-ray.
thought it was interesting that because of the x-ray thing, she doesn't see the picture that may or may not be significant.
Yeah, that's actually it is interesting. Yeah. Oh, I didn't catch the wires before. Okay.
Yeah, I didn't either. Uh-oh, that was like a bust.
Yeah, that's
There's the
interesting.
picture.
Is he busted?
I think he's busted.
Yeah.
Secret compartment. This is like, yeah,
Yeah.
like a bin thing.
Hmm. He's a
And,
history buff.
and there's like a sheriff star. Is
Yeah.
that what that was?
Yeah.
That's pretty
Hooded
intense.
Justice.
Oh, here's the painting.
Here's the painting. So I thought the only thing I could get from this is like 3 white horses. There's a black horse.
Mm-hmm.
That's all
Yeah.
I got.
Good one. Good
Yeah.
one.
Although that horse has a white head. The black horse is a white
Oh
head.
yeah. And I think the one on the left had like brown legs, but
Interesting. Mulatto horses.
ah, there it is.
Okay, here we
We
go.
can't say that in 2019.
Even as a joke?
Especially as a joke.
I think I can say it.
Bucephalus. No, I know. I just
Yeah.
don't hear it very often.
Octoroon, does that count?
Is that a thing?
Yeah, Octoroon is 1/8 black or something.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Wow.
Oh, they had a ton of words.
Damn.
They got real specific.
Was that a tomato?
Yeah, there's a tomato tree,
Okay.
which I don't think is a thing.
And he just okay, good. I'm
Tomatoes
just making
don't
sure,
grow some
like, that's
trees.
not how I thought tomatoes worked, but okay.
Yeah.
And then he just eats it? Like, that's the worst part.
And then like he didn't like it.
I know. Like, what's wrong with you? Don't eat a tomato if you're not gonna like it. Like, you should
Yeah.
know what you're getting into.
I didn't get the when did he give him a watch?
For his birthday.
In the pilot?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was his gift.
I love that line. Calling them dimwits. Sounds about 1959. I thought this was great with the other clones being hooded
Yeah.
because it we're used to people being in hoods. So
Right.
it's weird, but it's not extra weird. And then it
Yeah.
helps with the reveal.
They can hide, sort of, and we don't
Mm-hmm.
notice.
Like, why is he doing this? Why is he
I
putting on
have
this
no
play?
idea.
You're blue now. And I'm wearing a fencing mask. I got an honorary PhD in omniscience.
That's a good point. Why did you? Yeah,
I mean, I guess he was a doctor before,
I
right?
guess.
But yeah, it's not Mr. Manhattan. It's not good enough. I literally thought when he's like poppycock. Speaking of cock, okay, so now we get the reveal of all these clones,
Yeah.
and like I don't get it though, like why? And then like he okay, they did the play. He's saying job well done, but like he's not. Oh, it's not done with. Like he's he didn't accomplish whatever the whole point is yet. So and that was an interesting thing to me too, that they all have these names.
Yeah.
Is Mr. Phillips a character name, or was it the previous clone's name? Like I
Uh,
guess now I'm confused.
that's a good question.
I thought it was the previous clone's name, and I thought like, well, Mr. Phillips is the clone who will like hand me the cake later. Like a
Right.
hierarchy.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure if he means like I'll call you Mr. Phillips now, or if he just means like you'll be
You'll
in
be the
that
character,
function.
yeah.
And thus concludes our weekly Jeremy
Yeah.
Irons bullshit. I have
Then we get
no
from one
idea what's
clock
going
to
on there. Why
another.
is he putting on a play?
Mm-hmm.
I, why is he killing these clones for no apparent
Mm-hmm.
reason in the play? Like the spacesuit seems like it makes more sense to me than that. Oh, this was a huge surprise. You mentioned this. This like totally threw me.
What?
So this makes me think like my basic theory about this is that collaborators released him, but he wanted to talk to Angela again, so
Mm-hmm.
that's why he's hanging out there.
I mean, it's not that hard to pick handcuffs, though.
Well, maybe he picked the handcuffs. Oh, I love this. This is so Lindelof when he's like,
This is
I didn't mean
huge.
literally.
Yeah, I'm surprised that happened. I love that because they're like he's like completely surprised by the surprising
Yeah.
findings.
And then she's like, maybe you set him up. And I'm like, I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't even thinking that.
So before he was Dr. Manhattan, and now you can't go
Mm-hmm.
upstairs. Well, yeah, because if you wanted to believe he's Calvary, you'd put a Rorschach mask, not a
Mm-hmm.
Klan hood. Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Girl, you got my DNA. I know your game.
Friends in high
Oh, that's
places.
interesting.
That's a hint about something.
Yeah,
I
I
wonder
forgot
who
you
that
touched the
is.
timer. I think it's the owl guy. Very quick DNA results, by the way.
This is very convenient that it works this way.
So convenient. Yeah, I
So
feel like
she
I should have guessed that before it happened, but I
I
didn't.
agree. I remember there was a crackpot theory I saw that like she was the baby, which made no sense, but this
Made no
makes
sense.
way
Yeah.
more sense.
Mm-hmm.
I guess there's a mystery about her parents as well. They haven't talked
Mm-hmm.
about it that much, but they've alluded to it a couple times.
Mars. He's wearing red.
You're right. Like people do on Mars.
Yep.
Now he's under arrest.
Mm-hmm.
After all that. Like
After
I
beating
thought
my
that was weird.
grandfather. Yeah.
Yeah, like she finds that out and now she's ready to arrest him. Like it's
Yeah.
strange. It's a strange turn.
I love this. Oh, I'm accidentally hugging you. And it's weird. He's like, I want to show you where he came from, but they're still in Tulsa. So obviously he means something a
Right.
bit more metaphorical.
Yeah.
And how did the whoever is picking him up with the magnet in the car know that to do that?
Yeah.
To be
So
ready for that?
maybe that's part of why I was assuming like they let him out, that they were watching the whole time.
Well, that's what that timer I thought was for, right?
Yeah.
They knew when he'd come back at a particular time, but how did they know when she was going to be back, right?
Right.
Yeah, that was great, and that could have killed her.
Yeah.
It's just such a great end to an
God, I was
episode,
so not
though.
expecting that.
It's just so cool to just be like, and he's gone now, and then this
Yep.
happens. How did this happen? Why
He
did
must
this
have thrown
happen?
it, right?
I mean, I guess, but if we want to get technical, like he didn't have the car keys to roll the windows down. But all right,
He's got powers.
he's Doctor Manhattan.
He can do anything. I mean, he could have opened the door.
Yeah, I wonder if it's as simple as like watch over this boy. Like whoever finds him when he's a boy is someone a hero with powers, whatever. Like you know what I mean. Like
Mm-hmm.
that leads into whatever
Yeah.
craziness. He doesn't just get found by like a normal family.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think there's something there. I think there's something there. Uh I feel like they haven't told us enough details for me to come up with any kind of like real theory about it,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I do feel like, part of this show is definitely like um is going to be about like a sort of origin story.
Mm-hmm.
Um and I think we're going to find out about sort of the backgrounds, I guess, of like how they got there, and I guess like that will lead into whatever's happening now.
Yeah. Yeah, the only major character from Watchmen that I know of that could be related to what's happening, like that machine that took the car, is Night Owl, who was supposed to be
Mhm.
good with inventions and stuff. So
Mhm.
I'm assuming that's maybe who he's his friend in a high place or something.
Mhm.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, that's the only
Right.
theory I have about that.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. But yeah, it's like it's so yeah, it's such a classic like tease to be like there's this vast conspiracy, but I can't tell you about it
Hmm.
right now because
Hmm.
it would just break your
Well,
brain.
I hope that that's true. You know what I mean? Because it's such a crappy thing, artificial thing to say. That once we do figure out what the conspiracy is, we can go back to that scene and go, okay,
Mhm.
what would have happened if he told her right now?
Yeah.
And if it's anything, it's if it's not anywhere close to that line, it's going to feel underwhelming.
Yeah.
Which can
Yeah.
only really mean it's fundamentally about her. and about her
Yes.
place in the world.
And I do think that is part of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. She's already personally implicated.
Mm-hmm.
So it just has to go to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. Is Dr. Manhattan her father?
Oh God.
I'm just trying to think like what's the most mind blowing reveal could there be?
Right.
You know,
Oh God.
and what in terms of relationships to people, right? Which is probably what the reveal has to be.
Mm-hmm.
Some sort of nature of someone or their relationship to someone.
Yeah.
Um, but anyway, yeah, really good episode. I thought episode 3 was really good too, so I'm looking forward to talking about that
Oh
one.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, no, it was great. It's been like I can't even say how much better it is than what I expected.
Mm-hmm.
It's like so far. I was just like, I guess I'll watch that show. Like, see what David Lindelof is doing.
Yeah, yeah.
Yada yada yada.
Mm-hmm.
And from
Well,
like scene one, I was like, holy shit, this show's
mm-hmm.
really trying something.
Yeah, I thought when I heard he was working on this, I was like, well, I don't really care. Maybe I'll check it out. And yeah, it's been a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh I guess I should have known it would take some kind of more interesting form like this, but
Mm-hmm.
it was pitched as Watchmen, and so it's just
Yeah.
like I felt like I knew what that was,
Yeah,
and
and I think most people who adapt something, just especially so many years after the original, they just redo the thing.
yeah,
So it wasn't clear that it was going to be like a unique take.
yeah.
Cool. Well, we'll be back with the next episode. She was killed by space junk.
Oh,
Um,
these titles,
yeah, they're super crazy.
and they always flash on the screen in the background.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird. But yeah, I think yeah, this for me this episode like upped the ante on the Lindelof quotient, and I think
Mm-hmm.
it continues to develop in episode 3, and the fact that it's only 9 is like kind of terrifying
Mm-hmm.
because I think it really means that, this is going to progress pretty quickly.
Yeah, I think so.
And to me, like right now, in terms of the plot, like I am curious about the Jeremy Irons plot, and I enjoy it, and I wonder how it fits in. But my central concerns are: what's the conspiracy? What really happened with the chief, and why? And what was he doing? And uh, and like, who are the collaborators, and why did they kill the chief?
Yeah, I mean, I care about that. I'm way more interested in the bigger questions of like, what's Doctor Manhattan doing? What's Jeremy Irons doing? Because I think that'll be all the stuff at the end of the season, which to me means it's more important. But I think it'll tie into the more mundane conspiracy stuff too, in some way. And I'm assuming from what we saw with the third episode that you know, um, Jean Smart's character comes in and she's going to help uncover. She's obviously trying to investigate Don Johnson's murder. So she and Regina King's character will be sort of adversaries, sort of. But then once they uncover the beginnings of this conspiracy, they'll have to work together. um and then I'm assuming it'll be like the conspiracy is so large and big and crazy that will dovetail into like needing Dr. Manhattan's help or something like that. It's kind of how
Mm-hmm.
I imagine the end of the season going. But yeah, yeah, it's all interesting. Yeah, it's all very well done so far. So
Yeah,
I hope
yeah.
they
I
keep
guess
it up.
yeah. I'm hooked into the basic plot, which is like simple, and yet it has those Lindelof touches that
Mm-hmm.
draw me in, I guess.
Yeah.
Um the Dr. Manhattan stuff is like I priori I don't care about it right now. I will as soon as they give me a specific reason to. But
Mm-hmm.
right now it just seems like background noise, and so I guess I need something more concrete to start worrying about Dr. Manhattan.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll get there as soon as we, and episode 3 with like the car thing is probably the closest we've had so far.
Well, and that's what's interesting, right? The way this episode ended was a car being
Yeah,
lifted off into the
yeah.
sky, and that episode 3 ends with a car coming out of the sky, and
Yeah.
again the two main female leads on the opposite ends of that. So I think that was pretty well done symbolically.
Yeah, yeah, it's a symmetry kind of thing happening. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good point.
Yeah, and I don't know what that means when the car falls in the next. We'll talk about that next episode. I don't
Yeah,
really
yeah, yeah.
understand it at all, but yeah, looking forward to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be great. Hopefully.
All
I
right,
mean, I
until
already know
next
for
time.
episode 3, but rest
Yeah,
of the season.
yeah, I'm hoping um, the other shows escaping me. Westworld, had a similar quality in the beginning where it was a decent world building and some interesting characters and some interesting mysteries, but I thought it kind of fell apart in terms of it being inherently interesting to me. And I really don't think the show really is gonna fall into that trap because I think it's it's just so there's just it's richer, I think, in
Mhm.
what they're dealing with. But that's the only caveat I have is the idea that it could sort of unravel and
Yeah, yeah.
you know.
I mean, Leftovers definitely unraveled.
Hmm.
Lost to a certain extent unraveled.
Yeah.
So it's definitely not impossible that towards the end it sort of unravels. But the thing is that I have to admit that no matter how much I keep like not being totally happy with the end of a thing, well, okay, for a counterpoint, season 2 of The Leftovers, and if you look within certain local elements of Lost, like some of those like had satisfying conclusions. It's that overall thing. I think for a season they can probably pull it
Well,
off.
yeah, that's really what I mean is even season 1 of Westworld unraveled to me. And I
Oh, it
think
definitely
yeah,
did.
so
Yeah.
season 1
I never watched it again after that
of
bullshit.
Watchmen, I
The
think
maze is in your mind. Ugh.
yeah,
Ugh.
I think season 1 of Watchmen will stick the landing because they know exactly where they're trying to get to, and it's I think like the leftover season 1, I think it's easier to tell that first part of the adaptation. It's really when you go be above and beyond it in like a season 2 or 3
Yeah.
that it runs the risk of turning into something not that great.
Wearing itself out. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah. I think it still could be that, and this is just like maybe a personal thing, but it still could be that for me the build up and the mystery and the not knowing is just like more engaging than whatever they're gonna tell me.
Hmm.
Like that's often true. It's definitely often true with Lindelof type stuff,
Yeah.
but I guess I still value it in a way for the strange path we take to get there. So like I think I'll still enjoy the show even if I don't and am not like totally blown away by the ending. But I do hope that there's something about
That's
the ending that's compelling as well.
Well, that's really what my instinct is telling me is they're gonna get to the end of the normal plot about the cavalry. Now I get why it starts with a K, KKK.
Yeah.
Um, is they'll get to the end of that and it'll be interesting enough, right? Maybe super great, but like interesting enough. But they'll shuffle it to the Dr. Manhattan stuff which will be the bigger, crazier thing that they end the season on to hook
Mm-hmm.
you into season two. That's what I'm expecting is going to happen because I think it'll be a thing where whatever is happening with the conspiracy can only be so interesting. And I think they're going to want to say, okay, here's the end of that story. Now, here's the beginning of a second story with the crazy, thing with Dr. Manhattan and all that stuff.
Right.
That's how I'm imagining the structure goes.
Okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It'll be some crazy reveal about how the Jeremy Irons stuff is connecting to everything.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. That's clearly coming. That's in a way like if you want to compare it to Westworld, like Jeremy Irons stuff is like the what's his name stuff. What's that guy's name? The guy who played sorry, is it okay if I spoil Westworld? Season 1?
Are you talking about Anthony Hopkins?
No, 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 no.
You're talking about who are you talking about?
No, so okay. I'm just gonna throw it
Oh,
out
you talking
there.
about Ed Harris?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. I'm not talking about Ed Harris, but I'm talking about the actor who played the younger version of Ed Harris.
Gotcha. Yeah, yeah,
Because
yeah.
like basically we have a bunch of scenes with that character. They follow him for a while, and then eventually you find out like how that links up with
Yeah.
the main story, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's basically it's a flashback thing trick.
Mm-hmm.
um Not that I think that's what they're doing with Jeremy Irons, I definitely don't, but just in the sense that it's like a segregated part of the plot
Yeah.
that is like gonna sit on its own for I don't know how long. I mean, I, ugh, it almost becomes a Dougie type thing where it's like, are they gonna go to like Ep 9 before he like
Mm-hmm.
gets out of there? Like, how long is like shenanigans at the country manor,
I don't think it's. I
you
think it's gonna
know,
move faster because
gonna
even in
play out?
episode 3, he's already reaching the boundaries of that world when he
Right?
talked about the warden or whatever. So I think
Yeah.
it's gonna move pretty fast. And I was just wondering, like maybe he's like, okay, enough of this story of the watchmaker's son. I've got a new play I want to tell. It's called the the Sister Knight and the White Knight or something,
Oh
and
no.
it's like, and so it's like okay, what are we really watching here?
Not the Roseanne ending.
Where Roseanne was dead the whole time.
Yeah.
That's the new Connors version.
Remember
I
that
love
part?
that.
God.
We have to write Roseanne off the show. Well, she's dead now.
But what if we bring her back dead?
All right. Well, until next time.
Yeah. See you next time.
Yeah. Till
Until
then.
next time. See ya, Ben. All right.
All right. Bye.
Bye.